The first poster stamped "Missing" came back from the post office without a name, without a face. In the empty space, there was only a neat list of details. A blue wool scarf with a moth bite near the fringe. A habit of ringing bells twice. A stare that remembers 17. I knew every item and could not say for whom. Entry 1, Monday, early spring, markersqueak. Our corner bulletin board on Ashford Street is a modest citizen made of cork and soft patience. When I pinned the first poster, the thick black marker squeaked at the top where a face would go. I wrote nothing. The paper accepted restraint like a rule learning to sit. Beneath the absent face, the list read like a detective who prefers kindness. Blue wool scarf, moth bite near the fringe. Ringing bells twice. Tea without sugar, first cup only. Step 17, slower. At the post office, the clerk stamped received without asking for a name. Sometimes ink does not want a biography, she said, returning the delivered late circle to its tray as if postponing a kindness. People read, checked their own scarves, and moved on. With the untheatrical panic of memory. Entry 2, Tuesday, after rain, return mail. 2 posters slid through my Cedar Lane mail slot. Both addressed to resident. Both were missing. Both nameless. Poster A, brass key with a worn third tooth. A laugh arriving after the end of a sentence. A chalked on a doorframe at hopeful height. Poster B, left glove tucked into the right sleeve. A folded map, accurate but humble. A habit of apologizing smaller. I rang the landing bell twice. The air settled, as if the building remembered its portion of grace. Superintendent David Blackwood tightened a hinge and offered fresh pushpins. He keeps red-headed ones and calls them tomatoes. The city needs real tomatoes, he says, planting one in each corner. Entry 3, Wednesday, near dawn, Willowbrook's window. I carried the posters to Willowbrook Café before opening. The door will not unlock until someone orders tea without sugar. I waited with the papers while Steam auditioned for employment. Tom Aldridge slid the bolt and paused for the sentence he keeps for mornings. I spoke it. The door behaved like a door again. Over tea, Tom read the list the way baristas read weather. Not missing people, he decided. Missing specifics. Find the scarf, and you find an outline. Listen for the laugh, and you locate the neighborhood. He underlined chalk, dot with a pencil. Anna used to keep a dot by periodicals. People stood kinder there. I promised to ask Anna Whitmore. Entry 4, Thursday, late morning. The librarian's finger. Anna can shush a whole season without leaving fingerprints. She traced the poster margin and said, "No name is not no one. It is an invitation to notice." She showed me a reading room ledger where author names appear in pencil. When someone speaks a line aloud. Specifics create hospitality, she said. Faces make us perform. Details ask us to behave. She stamped my book return when ready. The stamp warmed the page without exertion. On my walk home, strangers nodded at the poster, as if it had thanked them first. Entry 5, Friday, after the tram. The day lists itself. By late afternoon, the board held 4 faceless posters. People added their own lines with tidy dashes and a respect for verbs. Coin purse with a stubborn clasp. Tram ticket punched on a past date. Umbrella that remembers to shake itself outside. Laugh that removes splinters. The marker squeaked agreeably. David called it a hinge voice. He planted more tomatoes, adjusting a constellation where chairs are stars. Entry 6, Saturday, market day, night pharmacy rule. At the night pharmacy, Marina Holloway writes in a hand that helps breath settle. She pinned a card beside the posters. Read twice. Then read without yourself. The missing is often attention that lost its owner, she said. She wrapped a paper band around the marker, not for faces. A child traced the moth bite on the scarf drawing. Is this mine? The child asked. The parent touched a shoulder. It could be ours. The sentence fit like a key that learned its teeth politely. Entry 7, Sunday, after midnight. First inversion. I woke to the sound of the board deciding to be a page. In the weak hall light, the newest poster had fewer items and more nerve. A bell that prefers 2 notes. A stare that keeps a secret extra step for memory. A habit of counting to 17 without counting. It was describing the building itself. Maybe the missing is our shared attention when alarms audition for leads. I wrote, small and strict. Landing needs a chair earlier than trouble, and placed a folding chair with a label that read public. The label behaved rather than performed. Entry 8, Monday, earlier than usual. Coffee people. A man asked if coffee could satisfy the ritual. Tea without sugar starts the day's spine. Tom said, kind but decided. The man posted one line before leaving. Pace that chooses accuracy over volume. The squeak after pace sounded like a hinge accepting a raise without gloating. At the post office, the delivered late circle looked lighter. Fewer stamped apologies, the clerk said. Your lists teach people to bring what they actually lost. She stamped my letter received and nodded toward the board, as if approving furniture. Entry 9, Tuesday, late afternoon. Chalk returns. Rain had erased the doorframe dot. David redrew it at Hope Height. Not superstition, he said. A pause button. The poster beside him now read, scarf with moth-bite, chalked. Step 17 slower. A window that forgives fingerprints. Two teens touched both dots with the gentleness usually saved for animals. Entry 10, Wednesday, late. A poster about laughter. A sheet arrived with one line. Laugh after the end of the sentence. No scarf, no stare, only weather. I laughed in the hallway, waited, then laughed again, smaller. A neighbor opened their door, saw me, and laughed precisely in rhythm. The poster had found a frequency. We nodded like people united by small, legal conspiracies, such as holding an elevator for one extra breath. Entry 11, Thursday, after the tram. The list visits Willowbrook. Tom made a corner on the cafe board labeled missing except not people. We pinned reduced copies. Anna added, tea without sugar counts as a detail. Marina contributed, receipts can print, pause, even on Thursday. From the hotel, Celia Hart sent key cards in a sleeve labeled for guests who return without a reservation. It felt like a poem that got a job. Customers read and left phrases more useful than cheerful. Doors are not gavels. Spoons are diplomats. We are not missing if we recognize our verbs. Entry 12, Friday, early. A poster comes for me. A folded sheet waited at my door, wearing missing like a polite hat. The list, a notebook that believes rooms right back. The sentence, I was wrong, rehearsed and not feared, a habit of not filming kindness, a ribbon saved for no reason and used once. The handwriting resembled mine, as if graphite borrowed my posture. I pinned it beneath the scarf sheet and added one line with careful economy. Willingness to say a name gently once, correctly. The squeak was modest, almost private. I liked it more than I trusted it. Entry 13, Saturday, late. Visitors at the board. People visited the board like a second cafe. They left paper cranes that did not brag and receipts named gratitude. David straightened corners as if adjusting the city's tie. A violinist tuned to the board's pitch and wrote, echo that refuses to audition for tragedy. The cork accepted humility like water. Entry 14, Sunday, before dawn. Second inversion. I had assumed the posters sought return. They also teach prevention. A faceless sheet, politely bossy read. Do not promote sugar to royalty. Practice 2 bell notes. 3 are a verdict. Return borrowed pins. Erase earlier than pride suggests. These are defensive details guarding what tends to disappear. Patience, consent, repair, quiet. Underneath someone penciled, begin plain, continue kind. I recognized Tom's hand. Entry 15, early summer, soft closing. The faceless sheets do not solve mysteries. They reduce how many we make. The board shows fewer emergencies and more invitations to behave. We ring the bell twice, let rooms remember themselves, and use names once, correctly, before returning to verbs. Extended notes, when the posters multiplied. Monday, parcel with no face. Willowbrook received an envelope from Only Details. Inside, 4 postcards stamped missing, each with one object drawn in patient pencil. A brass key with a shy third tooth, a paper band reading Not Today, a ticket punched on last year's date, a tomato pushpin, its head pale on one side. Tom lined them like spices. He wrote on a napkin, we season attention. Tuesday, the clerk's lighter stamp. At the post office, the delivered late circle traveled with a calmer arm. Fewer grand speeches, more letters, the clerk said. She tapped a tiny circle on a poster copy as a blessing that refused to sound like one. Wednesday, the hotel's improvement. Celia taped a miniature sheet near the elevator. Stroller that needs the door to wait. Suitcase that prefers not to be apologized to. Guest who returns without a reservation and deserves water first. The elevator paused before it was asked. Furniture rehearsed manners and kept them. Thursday, the pharmacy drawer. Marina keeps a drawer labeled for when hands shake. Inside, towel, chair card, pencil, a laminated poster that reads breath that forgives stuttering. She placed the drawer on the counter for 1 hour after rain. The hour behaved beautifully. Friday, Cedar Lane stair. David taped a card on the landing. Count the 17th step slower. He trimmed the marker tip so letters would not shout. A new sheet echoed him. Patience for neighbors who count aloud. Respect for hinges that recover. Gratitude for repairs that refuse auditions. Saturday, market sounds. Ashford Street filled with canvas bags ambitious for blueberries. People added one line, then went on with less need to narrate. Coin that chooses the correct pocket. Sleeve that remembers a glove. Umbrella that asks to be shaken outside. The marker squeaked faithfully, then rested like a satisfied hinge. Sunday, page for absences. Not everyone wants their detail on a wall. We keep a private page in a folder labeled Not for the Board. There we write, grief that learned to sit, anger that learned time, a name we cannot spare yet. The folder lives under the board like a basement where weather grows patience. Manual, how to write a faceless poster without turning it into a sermon. 1. Start with missing. Let paper do the shouting so letters can relax. 2. Write 3 to 5 details, concrete and kind. Objects welcome, habits heroic. 3. Avoid names and faces. We are not hiding, we are redirecting. 4. Use a thick black marker, but do not carve. If the squeak sounds like a gavel, slow down. 5. Pin with 4 tomatoes if you have them. Corners behave when fed. 6. Ring the bell twice and step back. Streets read better without a narrator. 7. When a detail returns, draw a small dot in the bottom right. Do not write thank you. The dot understands. FAQs for passers-by. Who is missing? What is missing? The who returns when what is noticed. Is this art? It is furniture that teaches. Why no faces? Faces invite performance. Details invite behavior. Do the police know? The police prefer nouns. We repair verbs. Where do returned details go? Back to pockets, hinges, breaths, patience, opening shifts. Step 17. How will we know it worked? The bell will sound employed. The tram will arrive without rehearsing grief. Shoulders will remember their jobs. Vignettes, returns without trophies. A scarf appeared on the board's nail, moth-bite visible, scented with rain and cinnamon. No note. A dot grew in the corner. The child who traced the hole smiled without audience. A key with the shy third tooth arrived in an envelope labeled for the door you think I am. David tried 5 locks and laughed softly at the one that sighed with relief. Someone taped a tram ticket beneath a poster. The punch was from last autumn. The driver had begun practicing the ramp earlier that week. The ticket seemed to have wanted to see it. A spoon returned to Willowbrook with a paper collar reading diplomat. Tom bowed as if ceremonies can be brief. A coin purse sat by the bell, upright, class proud but polite. The board recorded, coin chose correct pocket. We did not ask which. The chalk dot on the doorframe survived 2 storms by being redrawn in pencil when chalk was shy. Children treated it like a lighthouse for hands. Interview, the black marker, imagined, honest. Do you miss faces? I miss accuracy. Faces are sometimes accurate. More often they rehearse. I like moth bites, bent keys, paper bands. I like verbs. You squeak. That is me slowing your hands. Squeak is a reasonable break for drama. Your favorite word on these pages? Return. Casebook, gentle mysteries and small resolutions. Case 1. The name on a cup. A takeout cup sat under the board with a large name in frantic ink. We do not use names here. Someone peeled the sticker and filed it on the back of the folder. The cup now read water and served 3 people with ordinary devotion. Resolution. Reputations are costumes. Water works anyway. Case 2. The photographer. A person arrived with a camera to capture the mystery. The bell rang once by accident and then found its second note. The lens lowered. The visitor read 3 posters and wrote a detail instead. Tripod that decided to be a walking stick. Resolution. Some tools prefer verbs that help. Case 3. The argument about who. 2 neighbors argued whether a sheet described a specific tenant. The marker rolled off the shelf and paused at their shoes like a small treaty. They wrote together, "Our impatience." The board allowed them to be right without winning. Case 4. The lost dog that was not. A child tried to use the board for a pet. We helped them make a proper poster, with a face and a number, and hung it on a separate hook labeled "Yes Faces." The faceless board added beneath, "Hope that does not demand spectacle." The dog returned by dinner. Case 5. The elevator that forgot. For a week, the elevator opened at the wrong floor. The board posted "Elevator that needs a map." David taped a paper map beside the buttons with a dot labeled "You are near enough." The elevator recovered. Resolution: kindness is maintenance. Case 6. The visitor who needed a name. Someone came to apologize to a neighbor, but could not recall the last name. The board offered details: laugh after the sentence, blue scarf, step 17, and the right door found itself. Resolution: specificity is a bridge. Observations: things that stay missing, and that is all right. Some details prefer to remain lost, so we keep looking up. The speech that changes a person in one gulp. The day without error. The list that satisfies everyone. We continue anyway. Second inversion: the posters arrive early. Soon we saw pages for things about to go missing rather than already gone. Patience during first cups tomorrow. The habit of counting 17 when stairs are busy next week. The courtesy of letting Rain finish speaking before entering. We called these preemptive without admiring our vocabulary. They worked. People arrived with recovery already rehearsed. Week of quiet successes. Monday, someone placed a chair before the stair asked. Knees felt anticipated. Tuesday, umbrellas shook themselves outside without training. Floors stayed less theatrical. Wednesday, the tram driver announced ramp practice using the inside voice. Effectiveness replaced applause. Thursday, the clerk stamped more slowly and confessed less to ink. Friday, the market lined bins as if dignity is a fruit. Saturday, the hotel lobby learned "after you" in several accents. Sunday, we wrote fewer pages and watched the river, which prefers to be seen at a volume it can keep. Manual: how to retire a poster. 1. Check for dots in the bottom right. 2 dots mean the item has a home. 2. Peel tomatoes gently. Put used pins in a jar labeled "More Lives." 3. Fold once, then again. Never quarters that feel bureaucratic. 4. File under returned and read on rainy days like weather that went well. 5. Wipe the board with a cloth that prefers circles. Circles are apologies without speeches. 6. Leave one space empty for tomorrow. Empty is not failure. It is a chair. The quiet pile. Returned, kept, remembered. We stack retired sheets under Willowbrook's counter and another in Cedar Lane's foyer. Some evenings we read one aloud like a recipe. Missing: the habit of saying "I do not know" on time. Someone always nods in the exact way that counts as a dot. Letters I did not send. To the neighbor who returned the scarf and the dot. I saw how you folded the edge smaller. To the driver who paused the ramp longer. There is a toddler who will never know you saved their knees. To myself, 3 winters ago, you tried to fix a season with speeches, try lists. To the black marker, thank you for breaking. Entry 16, early autumn, weather registers again. Leaves rehearsed exits on Ashford Street. The board wrote, leaf entered on someone's coat, left on the mat with dignity. I added, broom welcomed leaf, taught it to travel without crunching. The hall smelled like wool and relief. Entry 17, midweek, parcel for no one. A small box addressed to future neighbors sat by the board. Inside, a pencil, a bell clapper, and a card that read "Start here." The sheet recorded, future neighbor welcomed in advance. Our details look forward to meeting yours. We sealed the box for the day that deserves it. Entry 18, late, rehearsal of departures. A tenant moved away, carrying silence that keeps keys company. The board wrote, farewell signed without spectacle, left a map for kindness. We rang the bell twice for the empty door. Empty doors are still doors. Entry 19, after tea, the second cup. Tom set a second cup on the table. First plain at the cafe, he said. Second sweet for your corner. The sheet logged. Sweetness arrived later and behaved. The bell's 2 notes learned a small harmony and nobody tried to hire them. Entry 20, evening. A visit from music. A violinist tuned to the board's pitch. The page wrote, music checked in, air stayed tuned. We did not applaud. We let echo keep the receipt. Entry 21, sunrise. The quietest entry. For an hour, nothing wrote itself. Then, in faint pencil, nothing visited, everything behaved. We admired the sentence longer than we needed and did not feel wasteful. 17 gentle closings we practice. Close the folder with a hand that prefers circles. Wipe the table as if it were telling the truth. Offer a cousin pencil if the first is tired. Ring once for arrival, once for consent. Touch the door framed. Renew if rain ate it. Respect step 17. Encourage mats into usefulness. Address windows like colleagues. Thank hinges silently. Remember names are hooks. Do not fish. Remember verbs are bridges. Cross gently. Let the elevator choose tempo. Erase without shame. Sit before adding sugar to sentences. Return chairs to neutral. Say good night, even at noon. Leave the corner better than pride. Epilogue. Why I keep writing. I write because the board teaches narration without conquest. Because hospitality gets lost under headlines, then finds itself in graphite and breath. Because a child labeled a dragon temporary and meant it. Because the tram bell learned utility over tragedy. Because the pharmacy prints pause on traffic days. Because the hotel elevator behaves like a host when asked and also when not. Because the delivered late circle has less work when mornings begin plain. Because details appear for people I never saw, and yet I recognize their verbs the way a neighbor recognizes your laugh around a corner. If you inherit this corner, keep verbs short, the pencil humble, the bell employed, and the tomatoes honest. If you find my line, forgive whatever I was rehearsing. Write yours beside mine, and let the page host us without speeches. Final tag. Find the detail, the rest returns. Appendix. Preemptive details for next week. Step 17. Remembered by shoes that hurry. Umbrellas choosing outside for their shaking. Keys checking teeth before dramatics. The inside voice at the tram ramp. Chairs arriving before arguments. Sugar waiting until sentences calm. Clocks refusing tyranny. Windows supervising volume. Hinges singing less, meaning more. Hands choosing pockets over phones when kindness starts. Eye contact that does not interrogate. Apologies that do not audition. Gratitude that washes a cup. The dot renewed without ceremony. Delivered late stamps taking a day off. Tomatoes that hold corners with humor. Marker squeaks that sound like useful breaks. Entry 22, late autumn, the ledger at Willowbrook. Tom placed a narrow ledger beside the tip jar with a penciled header. Details we noticed and returned. Customers wrote lines between sips. A chair rescued from drama. A spoon that negotiated peace between strangers. A whisper that arrived on time. Marina came by after her shift and added, breath remembered the staircase. The ledger made everyone speak softer, not out of secrecy, but out of accuracy. Entry 23, Tuesday, before rain, the chalk school. Children from Cedar Lane practiced drawing dots at the hopeful height on a cardboard door frame. They took turns and measured with thumb widths. One child asked, what if I am small? Another answered, then the dot weights lower, and the door remembers anyway. The poster recorded, access rehearsed in crayon, dignity shared with the afternoon. Entry 24, Wednesday, late, the wrong poster. A sheet arrived with a face by accident, printed from some distant office that loves certainty. We placed it on the separate hook labeled Yes Faces. Underneath, the faceless board added in pencil. Specifics still welcome. Collar with frayed edge, one sleeve longer, a scar that tells jokes. The two boards regarded one another, like cousins who disagree kindly and share umbrellas. Entry 25, Thursday, after the tram, numbers spelled. The clerk at the post office taped a card that read numbers by words, please. She said it helped the machine avoid shouting. 17 reads kinder than 17, she said, tapping the stamp as if patting a stray cat. The machine purred in its way. Delivered late took fewer bows. Entry 26, Friday, first frost. The scarf's second life. The blue scarf with the small moth bite returned again, this time around the neck of a statue in the small park. Someone nodded it gently, not as a joke, but as a tribute to warmth that keeps working after holes confess themselves. The sheet wrote, warmth promoted to mentor. David brushed frost off the statue's shoulder with his work glove, neither ceremony nor chore. Entry 27, Saturday, just before market, Cedar Lane's rehearsal. We walked the hallway together and counted the stairs out loud, 1 through 17, and then the ghost of an 18th. Which feet remember though stone does not. We honored the memory with a pause. The sheet wrote, "Accuracy held a small vigil and then went to breakfast." Entry 28, Sunday, between bells. The visiting cousin. My cousin stayed 2 nights at the hotel on a quiet discount. Celia lent a key card that works on any kindness. We tested elevator patience, lobby water, and the honesty of carpets. The card behaved. The poster at the hotel read, "Guest needs a map to gratitude. Supply water first." My cousin said, "Your street has manners that prefer to whisper." Entry 29, Monday, mid-morning. The microclimate of chairs. The public chair at the landing gathered a climate of short pauses. People tied laces, reset shoulders, and held paper. Without attempting a thesis, someone repaired a button there, leaving behind a thread that matched no coat in the building. The sheet wrote, "Chair hosted a meeting of useful silences." Entry 30, Tuesday, after dusk. The window that forgives fingerprints. We cleaned the lobby glass with a cloth that prefers circles. David said, "Windows like apologies that are shaped like breathing." The glass cleared with minimal speeches. Under the board, a child traced their reflection and waved to the self who behaved. Entry 31, Wednesday, after closing. Marina's printed pause. The pharmacy receipt printer sometimes jams in a dramatic mood. Marina showed me a trick. Print the word pause in large letters. Then feed the receipt back through gently. It convinces the machine to respect intermissions, she said. The board wrote, "Even receipt paper benefits from rehearsal." Entry 32, Thursday, windy. The coat room at Willowbrook. Tom hung 2 extra hooks near the door labeled guest and also guest. "Names are not load-bearing hardware," he said. People smiled at the hooks as if they had told a riddle that protects umbrellas. The board echoed, "Hardware offered plural welcome." Entry 33, Friday, after the bell. A rehearsal of laughter. We tried the poster's suggestion during the morning rush. Each joke ended, then waited, then received its laugh. The delay made room for shy joy. The tram driver took a cup to go and practiced the rhythm with us. The door held itself open for an extra breath. Entry 34, Saturday, late. Rain inventory. We listed rain's details after the market folded. The smell of wool, the argument between gutters and leaves, the sound of umbrella ribs becoming tiny roofs, the way chalk chooses patience. Missing, the board wrote, is often a synonym for unnoticed. Entry 35, Sunday, early, the 3rd inversion. I thought the faceless sheets pointed outward only. This morning one read, "Your habit of trying to be the author of every fix. Your reluctance to accept small help without apology. Your pocket full of sentences that were waiting for a stage." I stood very still. The board had noticed me noticing and decided to return something I had misplaced. Proportion. I wrote beneath, in smaller letters, "I accept chairs now." Entry 36, Monday, lantern hour. A visit from Anna. Anna brought an old library date stamp. Instead of days, it printed words. Listened, returned, repaired, aloud. She pressed aloud onto the corner of a new sheet and said, "Permission is a civic muscle." We stamped a few pages. The ink looked like a soft yes. Entry 37, Tuesday, blue sky. The sound of tomatoes. The red pushpins clinked in David's tin like small bells. "Tomatoes keep paper honest," he said, setting 4 at the corners of a poster. That read, "Speed, reconsidered." He gave me the tin to shake once, because the sound makes lists more truthful. Entry 38, Wednesday, library hour. Margins speak again. In the reading room, Anna showed me pencil notes in the margins of a city guide. The notes were tidy, kind, and entirely about door handles and soft lighting. "Margins make rules smaller and livable," she said. The board borrowed a line. "Light becomes a door when it behaves." Entry 39, Thursday, afternoon. The traveling dot. The chalk dot took a field trip to the elevator frame. Children petitioned for a second dot at their own height. We drew it and watched confidence walk through. The poster recorded, "Compliance taught without a speech." Entry 40, Friday, sunset. The river's version of noticing. We carried the folder of retired sheets to the river wall and read 3 aloud. Pedestrians slowed without performing. Someone placed a stone on the folder to keep the corners from wandering. The sheet back at the board later said, "The river approved by staying." Entry 41, Saturday, festival day, noise management. The street festival arrived with drums, lights, and a temporary loss of hearing. Tom brewed tea without sugar and taped a sign. Inside voices are treats. People came in grateful for the treat. The board outside declared, "Festival permitted, dignity not surrendered." The marker squeaked, but like a friend. Entry 42, Sunday, quiet rescue. A small emergency. A stranger fainted near the corner after too much sun. The crowd hushed in the right way. Marina knelt with the towel from her shaking drawer. David fetched water. Tom dimmed the cafe lights by one polite notch. The sheet later wrote, "Crisis supervised by competence. Applause withheld, gratitude not." The stranger recovered and left a dot on the corner. Entry 43, Monday, early, key practice. We held a morning drill. Everyone checked the shy third tooth on their keys. 3 people discovered burrs and sanded them smooth with a borrowed file. The board declared, entry rehearsed. Hinges predicted calm. Entry 44, Tuesday, after 5, apology laboratory. We practiced small apologies without speeches. I was loud. I took the last tomato. I stood in the way. Each apology was followed by the gentle phrase, "Continue," which turned out to be a key card for the afternoon. The sheet gained 2 dots and a margin note. Victory without winners. Entry 45, Wednesday, night pharmacy, the 8th drawer. Marina added an 8th drawer labeled for when words are sharp. Inside were paper bands that read "Not today." Customers wrapped them around their own pens and found their sentences softened 2 degrees. The receipt printer behaved out of respect. Entry 46, Thursday, during laundry, the label that told the truth. Downstairs in the laundry room, a label on a basket read, "Clean enough." Someone had decided to rescue us from the kingdom of perfection. The board stole the phrase for a day, and everyone found more time to be kind. Entry 47, Friday, flashlight test, the stair rehearsal. We dimmed the lights on purpose and walked the stairs with one small flashlight. Each person called out 17, in turn. Then we waited for the ghost step that feet remembered to pass. No one hurried. The building exhaled. Entry 48, Saturday, envelope again, mail from Only Details. Another padded envelope arrived with a short letter that said, "You are doing it right. Do not add faces." Inside were miniature posters printed on thick paper, each with a blank space in the top third. We left the spaces blank and felt generous. Entry 49, Sunday, late, the quiet refusal. A tourist tried to turn the board into a mystery brand. They wore a hat that sells solutions and asked for an interview. Tom said, "We are busy noticing," and handed them tea without sugar. They drank, listened, and wrote a line instead. Hat decided to stop shouting. The board granted a dot. Entry 50, Monday, first snow, winter manners. We salted the steps before the storm and placed a jar of spare mittens on the landing. Children traded sizes without debate. The poster recorded, "Winter rehearsed its kindness on schedule." Entry 51, Tuesday noon, consent bell. We added a sign by the bell. 2 rings mean "come in." 1 ring means "wait, please." People obeyed and found they liked it. The board noted, boundaries added flavor. Entry 52, Wednesday, slow afternoon. The dictionary of small. We began a dictionary for the board. Small means large enough to fit into a breath. Return means to let a thing remember its job. Neighbor means a person who respects your verbs. We pinned the first page like a flag that rejects conquest. Entry 53, Thursday, mellow light, the hotel's new card. Celia printed a key card that reads, "Guest of our attention." It opens the lobby water, the soft chair near the plant, and the shelf of travel leftovers. A traveler spent an hour there and left with a folded map that knew the city's inside voice. Entry 54, Friday, evening, the silent meeting. We held a building meeting with no agenda and no speeches. People sat, breathed, and wrote one detail each on scrap paper. At the end, we read the scraps in a circle. The poster later called it, "Policy by Gentleness." Entry 55, Saturday, candle hour, power outage. The lights went out for 2 hours. We lit small candles in jam jars and set them near the stair. Children counted kindly. The elevator rested. The board wrote, "Electricity took a nap. Neighbors did not panic. Step 17 shown." Entry 56, Sunday, early winter, the 4th inversion. A new sheet said, "Do not wait for posters to begin hospitality. Begin, and posters will retire sooner." It felt like a graduation for paper. We stared at the board and saw a mirror that chooses verbs. Entry 57, Monday, noon. A letter to the future neighbor. We wrote, "You will find a chair before you fall. You will find water before you ask. You will find that 2 bells mean come in, and 1 bell means wait. Please. There will be a dot at your height." We sealed it in the future neighbor box and felt the building approve. Entry 58, Tuesday, just now. This page. As I finish this entry, the marker squeaks like a hinge that learned better music. Someone enters Willowbrook and orders tea without sugar. The tram bell chooses 2 notes, and the clerk stamps received with a lighter wrist. The poster on the corner reads, "Look for the scarf with the moth bite. Look for the chalk dot at hopeful height. Count steps 17 slower. Laugh after the sentence. It is enough. It is becoming a neighborhood." Addendum, Winter Registry and Small Springs. Registry of Winter Kindnesses. Mittens exchanged without ceremony. Labels read yours for now. Doormats promoted to hosts. Slush checked at the threshold. Radiators sang brief songs. We clapped in silence and bled them carefully. Windows forgave breath and fog. Circles of apology restored the view. Elevator practiced humility. Stairs accepted compliments without blushing. Soup traded between floors with no need for recipes. The bell's 2 notes learned a wool tone. Notes from Tom Aldrich. I used to chase perfect foam. Now I chase the line where a morning becomes the day it meant to be. It happens between the first plain tea and the first return detail. The cup is ordinary and therefore devout. Card Catalog by Anna Whitmore. She rebuilt a drawer of cards for our corner. Attention, what we pay and therefore own. Neighbor, one who respects your verbs. Applause, often misapplied. See also competence. DOT, punctuation for doorways. Tomato, a pushpin that believes in corners. 17. The number of stairs that belongs to this building. Pause here. Faceless, an invitation to behave. Letter from David Blackwood. I repair hinges because I like to see a door remember itself. I plant tomatoes because paper needs friends. I keep chalk because hope forgets and remembers on a schedule. Spring openings. When the frost retreated, the scarf retired to its owner without ceremony. The moth bite remained as proof that warmth survives imperfection. The board wrote, "Hole remained, job continued, neighborhood learned." We rang the bell twice. Closing the season. I add this final line with the marker that squeaks less now. The city feels tuned to the details on our pages. If a new sheet arrives with nothing but a dot, we will know it is saying, begin. And we will.